Hello, I'm Pop Culture Guy. Today will be two reviews of two films that are basically remakes or reboots of something from the 90s. First up is the live action remake of Beauty and the Beast, Disney's remake of their animated film from 1991. Now, before we get through this, I'm just gonna say it. I have not seen the 1991 animated film, so my take on this film will be just from this film alone, so nothing from the 91 animated film. Sorry, can't really compare, so just on its own. Anyway, as I'm sure the film follows the same thing that happens in the original 1991 film, and many other adaptations of the fairy tale. Prince turns into a monster, and a young girl enters his castle, becomes his prisoner, and eventually she tries to help him with his curse, and she eventually falls in love, and at the end she helps break his curse and the curse of his servants. Him a beast and his servants houseware items like a candelabra, a clock, or a teapot. Even though I can't compare it to the animated Disney film, I think this is a good film. Emma Watson makes a great Belle. And Dan Stevens, though at times the way he looks because of the CGI can come off as not that impressive, his performance is still believable. And yeah, a lot of the time he looks not that great, but when it looks fantastic. The effects, especially for the servants, they're really magnificent. And you find the chemistry between Watson and Stevens very believable. And the one between Luke Evans and Josh Gad, hilarious, especially with the song that Gad does for Gaston. Some drawbacks, well, some of the songs just don't feel like they belong. Especially since some of them appear right after another song ended. Especially since the Beauty and the Beast song appears like multiple times near the middle and the end, and it doesn't always work. Sometimes they try to be too comedic, and it can come off as a bit goofy. And I feel like they should have expanded more of what led to the curse. They just showed the witch and the prince who will become the beast in this short flashback. I feel like there should have been a longer prologue, maybe. That's just me. But in the end, I really liked it. I enjoyed it for what it is. I give Beauty and the Beast 2017 a 78% and place it at number 5 for the films of 2017 I've seen so far. Another film based on the 90s gem, Saban's Power Rangers. This is a reboot to the original 90s show that started it all, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. It has the same characters, a new cast, and a whole new look to it. It is produced by Saban, who created the franchise, basically using footage from the Japanese Super Sentai show and then adding, you know, English and American elements to it. Even with that, it's still a fun show to watch. I enjoy it. I still watch it. I do believe that maybe one day they can get away from that and does show how serious they can be, the same way that they do, say, the CW shows like The Flash and Arrow, but more like The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow, because we all know what happens in Arrow, and you don't want to be too dark with it. The movie does take liberties and expands on the mythology of the franchise, where instead of 5 teenagers with attitude, it's 5 teens who are basically outcast. A former football player who broke his leg during a prank gone wrong, a kid with autism, which is very notable. The first time that's ever been done for a superhero, especially important for me, and the rest with their own problems. And I think it's good because in the original series, they didn't have any personality. They all had this overly heroic, wanting to help, in whatever way they can, always volunteering, always teaching classes at a juice bar. And you need more in-depth characters. It really works. It really does. It follows basically the plot of the first episode of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Day of the Dumpster, where Rita escapes and she basically has Goldar attack Angel Grove. And the five teens become Power Rangers for the first time, form their Megazord, and fight Goldar. With some, changes here and there, such as they're not chosen by Sordon so much as they find the power coins and they become the Rangers. The coins choose them. And this awakens Rita and basically goes on a killing spree trying to find more gold to resurrect Goldar. Now, Saban's Power Rangers is a lot of fun. It's one of those movies you admit it has a lot of problems, but it's just fun to watch. Now, like I said, each character has their own problems with their own insecurities. But the problem is, they have so many problems and insecurities that it just feels so dark. It's alright if you have one character who doesn't have this extremely depressing life, but don't have all of them have extremely depressing lives. Don't try too hard like DC is doing. Make it fun. Don't be all dark and murky and the cinematography being all depressing. This is based on a kids show after all. And I know that you're trying to be more, serious, but learn from Marvel rather than DC. Be fun. Don't be afraid to show how silly you are. Though the chemistry and the acting between all five leads is top notch. You believe them. You believe what they go through. The suits they have, yeah, they're different, but I think they're okay. I mean, they're way different than in the shows and are trying to do something else. So maybe in the future you do have sequels, come up with a way that the suits can change, like they change with the times. Because we only see them once, and it makes sense that they haven't changed because it's the first time they've been used in millions of years. Serious tone is mostly good, and I do believe that the franchise has potential, like other franchises that shown they have potential. But again, trying too hard will not help you. Putting a lot of swearing and a lot of adult jokes that you expect from a Michael Bay film certainly will not help you be taken more seriously. Don't do that. However, thankfully, they don't do a lot of those jokes. Elizabeth Banks as Rita Repulsa is awesome. I mean, her backstory tying her more with the Rangers, that's a perfect example of change from the original show, which never explained how she has a green power coin. But because in here, she is, or she was, the Green Ranger. That makes great foreshadowing for future films. However, the use of Goldar is atrocious. Because you basically have this generic looking monster who does not speak, and it's just defeated way too easily at the end of the film. They basically treat him like any other monster, and Goldar is supposed to be Rita's general. Plus the fact that Fred Tatasciore was credited with voicing Goldar, and all we got out was wars and moaning. That just feels like a waste. Now, let's mention the elephant in the room. The absolute worst thing about the film that, kinda hurts it is the product placement with Krispy Kreme, where apparently the CO crystals, which are basically the life force of the Earth, is buried under a Krispy Kreme. Now, I wouldn't mind that, except for the fact that they name Krispy Kreme near the end more times than they do their own names or even the Power Rangers. It's funny when Rita goes in to eat a donut as Goldar is destroying the place, but yeah, that's just really bad product placement. You could do better, come on. One drawback is while the Megazord is really cool looking, different, but really cool looking, and the idea that they each have to control one aspect of the sword, they never explain a lot about them or the Megazord. It just, here's the Megazord without any explanation. And while I do love the fact that when they go Power Rangers theme music from the first movie shows up, it's only ever used once. We never hear like any snippets or the full thing throughout the rest of the film before or after. You have great music, but it's not the original theme from either the shows or the movie. I really liked Amy Jo Johnson's and Jason David Frank's cameos, but I thought it was forced that they're the ones who are the first ones to take pictures of the Megazord. It's like trying too hard. We know what they are. They don't have to be the first ones to, take pictures of them. That's just a bit hokey. Now, I know that the film didn't make much, making like $140 million of a $100 million budget. But if Saban made a lot of money, not just from the show, but from the toys, and people getting a lot more money from the toys than the movies, which is how George Lucas became absolutely rich, still make more movies. I mean, if you get more money from the toys, and it's enough, make more. Come on. I mean, we got a sequel to Hellboy, even though the first film only made $90 million of a $60 million budget. Highlander had a lot of sequels and a TV show that lasted like, 4 or 5 seasons? And a film made under. Take a risk, just this once. Treat it like Star Trek, where each film they made after the first one, they treated like it was the last, because they didn't know if there was going to be another one because of how many people didn't like the first one, even though it made a lot of money. And each one was made as though this will be our last. And then they kept making more and more until they did make their last with Star Trek 6. Have a smaller budget, make it simple, and just take that risk. And I didn't mind that it wasn't until near the end that they got their powers. I mean, I feel like it was better that way. They get to learn how to become Rangers rather than just immediately going into action. They had to earn it. Same way with the Godzilla from 2014. Yeah, you don't see Godzilla much, but it pays off by what you see at the end. And of course, the post-credit scene, foreshadowing Tommy, awesome. A flawed film, but a very fun and kick-ass film nonetheless. And which is why I give Saban's Power Rangers an 88%, and place it thus far at number 3. Now, I hope you can join me for next time, because it will be very special. It will be yep. Yeah, I was just going over the next episode that I will be doing. I just wanted to let them know what it was. Really? Do I have to? And what if I say no? Oh. If I say no, I'm dead. Fine, I won't be happy though. Never mind, folks, I have to do something else, or I'm gonna die. That's the business.